Okay guys, today in class we did a Venn diagram to compare and contrast Mesopotamia and Egypt. So I have drawn the Venn diagram here, two big circles, and you see they're overlapped here in the middle. I've labeled one Mesopotamia and one Egypt. And then I actually divided mine into three different sections. One for religious, one for social, and one for political. So I know you'll need to pause as we go through the video, but I'm going to be moving facts in that you need to get on your Venn diagram, and you will need to show it to me tomorrow that you have it completed so you can get a Class Dojo point. Alright, here we go. We're going to start with religious, and that is this top section that I have here. So as I pull these out, I'm going to place them where they need to go. Alright, let's see. Polytheistic. Was Egypt or Mesopotamia polytheistic? Well, hopefully you said they both were. So this would go in the middle section there. They both believed in many gods. This one says they thought their pharaohs were gods. Well, if you caught this right here, pharaohs, you know that the pharaohs go with Egypt. They did think that their gods were living here on earth as pharaohs. So that one stays right there in Egypt where I have it. They had gods for the afterlife. That is the Egyptians, because the Egyptians believed very heavily in the afterlife. This one says that their religion was based on 4 elements. That belongs with Mesopotamia. That would be earth, wind, fire, and rain. Alright, this one says they believed the kings were chosen by the gods. Mesopotamians did believe that their kings were chosen by the gods, so that's going to stay right under Mesopotamia. They believed their kings were chosen by the gods. The Egyptians believed that their pharaohs were gods. Alright, this one says they have gods for everything in their everyday life. That stays with Mesopotamia. They did believe that they had gods for every single thing that they did in their life. Whoops. Mummification practice to prepare for the afterlife, that would go with Egypt. Okay, so I'm going to move these around a little bit. Mummification practice to prepare for the afterlife. They mummified their pharaohs and anyone who was wealthy and could afford to pay. They mummified them in preparation for the afterlife. And then I have one more over here in purple, and that is this one. No mummification practiced. Hopefully you know that that one goes with Mesopotamia. They did not practice mummification. Alright, so these are the ones that I want you to have in for religious. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different facts for religion. Now we're going to move on to social. Whoops, sorry, that keeps bouncing out there. Sorry about that. Okay, social. This means how did they live every day in Mesopotamia compared to Egypt? Alright, well let's start pulling these out. Trade. Did only Egypt have trade or only Mesopotamia have trade? Hopefully you answered no. They both traded. So trade was a major part of their economy. Farming in rich soil. Well, hopefully you know that Mesopotamia was around 2 rivers, or was between 2 rivers. Egypt was settled around a river. So the reason they did that is because there was rich soil and a source of water. So this one should go for both Mesopotamia and Egypt. They both farmed in rich soil. Cuneiform. Hopefully you know that is a style of what? Writing. The Mesopotamians used cuneiform. Well, if they used cuneiform, the Egyptians used hieroglyphics. That means that they both invented, they both had a written language that they invented. So they had cuneiform in Mesopotamia, hieroglyphics in Egypt. That means they both had a written language. Alright, the pyramids. Who built the pyramids? Mesopotamians or Egyptians? It was the Egyptians. They built the pyramids, specifically Khufu. Alright, let's move one over here. Temples. Technically, they both had temples. Okay, so that one's going to go here in the middle. And it just so happens that their temples were pyramids and their temples were the ziggurat, or ziggurats. Alright, moving right along. And I suppose that you could have put temples and ziggurat and pyramids in religious, but we are just going to stick with it down here in social because it was part of their everyday life. Belief in the afterlife. We know that the Egyptians believed very heavily in the afterlife. However, we are kind of unsure as to the belief of the Mesopotamians when it came to the afterlife. All right, built around the river. Egypt did build around the river. Mesopotamia, and I should change this to say, they built between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. So we know that both civilizations, I have that twice. Both civilizations built around a river or near a river. Egypt built around the Nile River. So if you put this one over here with Egypt, make sure you get built around a river back in the center, because they both did. Mesopotamia built between Tigris and Euphrates, or I should say they settled between Tigris and Euphrates. They built their civilizations. And the Egyptians built their civilizations around the Nile River, so both civilizations were built around a river. And both had their own inventions. And I did not sit down and write down each of the inventions, but if you can think of some, then maybe I'll give you bonus points. No. All right, the next one, we have done religious, check, social, check. Now we're down to political. When you think of political, you should think of government. All right, did the Mesopotamians have slavery, or did the Egyptians have slavery, or did both have slavery? The correct answer would be they both had slavery. They both also traded. So we've got trade in two different places here. Part of their economy, a large part of their economy, was due in part to trade. All right, similar social pyramids. Hopefully, because I have the word similar in there, you're going to know that means it goes with both. They did both have similar social pyramids. And if you look in your notebook that you have, you'll see the two different social pyramids that we did, the social hierarchies. And you can see how similar they are. Yes, there are some differences, but they are very similar in, I guess, who is listed on the top versus who is listed on the bottom. All right, a wall for protection. Who had the wall for protection? Hopefully you know that that was Mesopotamia. They built the walls around their city-states for protection. All right, pharaohs made laws. This one is already in the Egypt category, and it is right. The pharaohs did make the laws. Over here, you had King Hammurabi's Code of Laws as one of the most significant, I guess, written histories, primary sources that we know that they had a written code of laws. So I suppose that you could put in the middle here that they both established laws. All right, a monarchy. Was Mesopotamia a monarchy? Was Egypt a monarchy? Or were both monarchies? All right, well, the correct answer is they were both monarchies. So we're going to put monarchy in the center. They had kings. They had pharaohs. Whoops, sorry about that. We'll wait for it to disappear. All right, this one established city-states. Did Egypt establish the city-states, or did Mesopotamia? The correct answer, is Mesopotamia. They did establish the city-states. Egypt had kingdoms, but they also had cities as well. Now, who had a strong army? Did Mesopotamia have a strong army, or did Egypt have a strong army? I would venture to say that it was the Egyptians that had the stronger of the two armies. All right, now, once you have this completely done, then you will bring it to me tomorrow and show it to me so that I know that you completed it. And, yeah, you're finished for the assignment. If you weren't here on Monday, you are finished with the assignment that we did in class together. Okay. All right, get this all down. See you, bye.